Ethiopia Bible have 88 books as opposed to 66 in the case of the King James, right? So my thing is this: the formula of Genesis to Revelation is something that was created very recent, starting in the 15th century. Okay?
Subscribe to the Mystic Vibration Shock of the Hour program today and receive our nightly show immediately after each and every broadcast. This will be done via the email and will be found in your inbox. For the small price of only 50 United States dollars, you will receive almost 20 hours of raw information, knowledge, research, and scholarship on various subject areas and topics that are necessary to be addressed at this time. In addition, all subscribers will receive our monthly video lecture series, which has a value of 20 United States dollars. They will receive the video lecture for free that is related to the month that they are subscribing for. To subscribe, call or WhatsApp 1268-728-3162 or email priestisaac27@gmail.com. The Mystic Vibration is a program that is every Monday to Thursday at 6 p.m. sharp Eastern Caribbean time on Radio Anu, radioanu.com.
And we say blessed love to each and everyone. Give thanks once again. You're definitely with us in the Tiger's Nest. Of course, you know the vibration is always mystic. And Honorable Priest Kidemi Shalom Isaac here with you. And today we have a very special brother with us, Brother Ras Icern, within the realms of Rastafari. He's sitting with us this evening. And tonight we want to go into the mystics of the Bible. We want to speak of the Bible as it is. Is it a historic book, or is it a work of fiction? Is it facts, or is it again fiction? The Bible. Now, of course, this is a discussion that has raised its head in the most recent times, and many individuals have their own outlook. I'm sure most of us, especially those of us of our age and maybe just a little bit below, you were raised on the Bible. Up to now, people have been raised on the Bible. The Bible is a very key book in society, in different systems. You know, some people may ban the commandments in school, but you still can use the Bible to swear in the court. So it's a very key book that is being used. Yet at the same time, as we know, it is a religious book, not just for Christians, for many different people. And it has been taken historically. That's really the main point, by different denominations and even within the realms of religions outside of Christianity and ways and orders, you know. So no matter what it is, even if an individual say he follows Kemet, even if an individual says he's a Rastafari, even if an individual say he's a Muslim, you would still find those amongst them saying, yeah man, this is a historic book. David, Solomon, Ezekiel, Isaiah. And then some even of the same sect, you know, would say, well, it's a good book, but I don't think that's exactly how it went. I don't think these characters, they're principles. So you get a lot of different versions. So what Brother Icern is here to do today with us, and of course this will be also broadcasted on Radio Anu, radioanu.com, the international flavor, the universal spice. Wonderful move there. What we are definitely going to be doing now is the brother will introduce himself and he will be sharing with us some documentation as it relates to some findings concerning the Bible, to give us, shine some more light on the question that has been asked as it relates to the Bible and its historic value, you know, if it's fact or fiction. Brother Icern.
Well, I like to say, I might just like to give thanks for the opportunity to be in the lioness, the Rastafari, the tiger's nest, Rastafari. Yeah, with Kidemi, I don't know, enough respect. A man that have been doing a lot of works, putting out Rastafari out there differently. Traveling, lecturing, Yeah, Amanda Heinemann watch doing his own personal bit, his own contribution to this great levity, and with a lot of admiration, and you know what I mean, inspirational as well, because he gave man that inspiration to do my own bit same way. You see, so enough respect to Kidemi for providing the opportunity for me to exhibit the things that I've gathered over the years, experience and knowledge wise, highly last year. Yeah, man. Well, I'm personally, where the Bible is concerned, for years now, Heinemann have there was a turning point in Heinemann experience coming to Rastafari when Heinemann came upon a book they call the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, and that shift things in a very big way for Heinemann, because one of the challenge I was having in the Bingy house during them time is that I was seeing things in a certain way that would prove to be controversial within the context of Rastafari itself. You understand? And so when you come up in an organization like that, where it's almost like a shared meditation, like all of us hold certain common things in terms of how we view things, and then you find yourself now start having thoughts that will go against that grain, so to speak, and they make you very courageous in wanting to speak the truth that is being revealed to you personally in your own personal chat. You see, but you feel hard pressed to go against the group, because you feel like you feel almost like you're the one who is straying, you're the one who weak out, so to speak. So it was a very challenging thing, because while in the Bingy, before Heinemann actually kind of make a move and go freelance a kind of way, I was having these challenges because of the things that have come to me personally in my understanding of the time. And then I came across the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, going amongst someone's day from Science of Being. Science of Being is a small, I might call it Afrocentric Christian center up by Factory Road up there. And I learned about the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary from around them. And also get a set of book on self-realization, book come out of India, their own spiritual system and meditation and these kind of things. And one of the vital lessons I learned at that time is that God do not come to group, He comes to individuals. Meaning you can be a part of a group, right? And everybody look good. When it's time for Bingy session, how everybody look uniform, highly high in uniformity and everything. But then you can never really tell how sincere a man is internally. You see, and so that part become a personal thing. That are you and God outside of the group. Because you can look good in the group and look a part of the group, but inside you different thing will go on. Either you're very committed or faithful to what you deal with, you have a certain level, you understand, the integrity that you hold and respect of that the rest of the group may not quite aspire to that, at least they may not go to that point as yet. You see, so in any event, learning that God come to individual and not to group gave me the freedom to align myself with things as it been revealed to me, to speak the truth as He revealed to me, to speak the understanding as He revealed to me, irrespective of the fact that it might set me apart from the mainstream, if you like, in Rastafari. So that really starts a certain kind of road for me in opening up. The Metaphysical Bible Dictionary really show that the stuff in the Bible, the things that you read in the Bible that you usually focus historically, like events and all that, because we're using prophecy to prove things and all this. The Metaphysical Bible Dictionary now expose to what they call a second line of understanding of scripture, which commonly referred to as allegorical meaning to it, a deeper meaning than what play out on the surface, so to speak. You understand? And so that kind of opened a certain window. At that point, I wasn't even considering whether the Bible was historical or not, because it would seem obvious that it is historical, because we have people on earth right now, countries on earth that say they descended from people in the Bible and things like that. So it would seem like, okay, everything in order. You know, everything perfectly in order. I'm reading in this book about this person that exists how many thousand years ago, and today there is someone living now that claim descendants from this. So the connection is right there, you know? So then I have no reason to question this thing. You understand? Anyway, what caused another shift for Heinemann is that I came across a DVD for one called Dr. Walter Williams. No, before that, I was looking into Ray Higgins's lectures, because he's a preacher of 30 years that converted to a more Egyptian form of worship. He kind of create, I might call a kind of Egyptian type church, where you call the African village. You understand? But listening to him, he was one of the person that I first hear mention about Jesus never exists. But you see, he never have a lot of information to back that up, because he was learning himself also. He was just coming into awareness. But I can't, after listening here, man, you know, start opening up to certain things at that point. You understand? Then after, in a whole box, a CD that Kwame sent Heinemann. Heinemann just start go through, check out Illuminati, Freemason lectures, and then I pull up this guy named Walter Williams. And then this guy now starts saying that Jesus never exists. So me look on this and say, yeah? Like me like surprised. Me say, tall, but His Majesty descended from King Solomon and David, and then people they never exist. Say, no. Let me see how this man back free chat. Let me see how he defend this. You understand?
He said Muhammad didn't exist. Right?
Yeah. So me say, no. Let me see how this man defend this. So me sitting, because the lecture be like about 2 hours. And me sitting and listen to this man. And then the man start make reference, calling certain names and certain things for backup when you talk about. Me say, yeah. Me say, right down and say, you have to check out that stuff, yeah. Because I man, listen, me the kind of Rasta man, if one piece of information come that put Rasta for looking all kind of bad light, me and the kind that go cuss and turn aside. Me want to check this thing out. Me want to check this thing out. And if there's any credibility to it, me go look for make some adjustment. That kind of Rasta me be. Me and the styly Rasta. So me not gonna be the one that want to shy away from information, because the information challenge Rasta position. Because to me that is not way. That is not a way to deal with truth. You see, you have to have yourself always clean. If your nose not clean, clean it up. If one truth come and challenge you and show that, look, you have shortcoming here or there in wherever you deal with, straighten that out. Now try stifle the truth. Because you come back around, I man want to get caught in a position where I man feel embarrassed and stupid. I mean, he done bad enough already. People look at Rasta say they smoke herb and all kind of foolishness. And then you got to adapt this kind of weak position where you want to face up to things, because you kind of make you might look a kind of way. You see? Heinemann didn't do that. Heinemann didn't do that recklessly either in terms of pursuing these information. Because Heinemann have to look into, listen, this Rasta thing has substance. You understand? So I start looking into a way that we can validate His Majesty.
Something missing.
Yeah. You see? Anyway, I follow the information and the man reason, Walter Williams, Heinemann kind of lose track of it, few steps in.
You go.
To pick up with Walter Williams and the video and what he was revealing. When I check the information right now, this man carry on show you from when Alexander the Great entered into Egypt. What happened thereafter. That is something that is not common to us in our history books or anything. We have no notion or perspective. We know Alexander the Great conquered Egypt, but what happened thereafter, coming down to our time, we have no idea, because nothing there that give you chronologically, if you like, you know, in progression how everything trickled down. But Walter Williams was providing that kind of picture. and show you how everything happened. You see? And when I start looking into what he's saying, I come upon something very interesting in thought as I go through it. They say the Bible is historical. Fine. You look at the history of Christianity from the Bible, and you say Christianity basically started this way. There was a man who was born by the name of Jesus Christ. He raised up and he had a great message. He said to be the Messiah, the Son of God, and so on. Yes. But essentially what he did, he raised up and he started a movement, if you like, with his own teachings. He had his disciples and so on. And a movement start in that way, based on the teaching. After he was crucified, his disciples, who are Jewish youth like himself, branch out into the world to spread the word. Spread the gospel in the four corners of the earth, so to speak. And from that point, they get into Antioch and Corinthians and all these places. That's the way the history has been taught to us.
Yes, that's basically it.
Okay? Because they use Constantine, Emperor Constantine. They use Emperor Constantine as the bridging point to show how the movement of Christianity out of the Bible break into, I'm using the term break into, actual history. The entrance point was Constantine, his adoption to the Christian faith. That will cause it to be established in Rome now, so that you'll have a situation now in history where it's like Rome is the headquarters for Christianity, a very strange place to be the headquarters, given the fact that they were the ones who were persecuting Christians, according to the literature. But this, if you are to follow the history from the Bible, this is how it comes into actual history now, and things that we can follow. So that a very...
It fusing in now.
It fused right into our actual history now, out of something that is story-like. It's really a story coming down. This is the interesting part.
At that time, that's the time it fused it.
Right. That's where it connects with real history. They don't have no other connection. And
then they start to go backwards now to say, okay, well, this really happened with you, and they go back in history.
Right.
Moses, Abraham.
You see, they have a point to show where the growth of Christianity continue beyond Revelation. Remember, after Revelation, everything cut. Nobody know what happened between Revelation and let's say now. For you to know what happened between Revelation and now, you have to go from Constantine and the Byzantine Empire to follow what happening with Christianity. Because it's that will bring you right down to the creation of Bibles by Erasmus and all the rest of it. So you see, they have an actual connecting point where the Bible now come into manifestation in the earth, if you like, where there's a connection made, and they use Constantine to do it, to justify how Christianity came to be established in Rome, how Rome become the headquarters for Christianity. Because it seems logical and makes sense that a Jewish movement will end up there as a stronghold. It would suggest even that the establishers, the people who established Christianity itself, would be Jewish people. This is the interesting part now after following Walter Williams' information.
No, okay, just give me a moment, let me ask you something here. I don't break a trend now, because I know you're getting the letters and everything.
Yeah.
But especially for the audience. Okay, you mentioned Walter Williams, and you know, we've gone through Walter Williams' work. I know Walter Williams, just for the record, you know, he's a brother that also claims that the Nama palette was a fabrication. I don't know if you ever heard him talk about that.
No.
But I'm not sure. And he speaks of also the Rosetta Stone, also a fabrication, which I could understand that, to be very honest. But the Nama palette, I kind of differ here. But it's not a problem with that.
Yeah.
The point I'm saying, okay, so as you said, many people are already within their second nature accepting this book and the history that is behind the book, All right. So, what is it that we can use as evidence and proof to say, well, listen, man, what you have here written in Genesis and Exodus, none of this really happened. Why I'm asking it, because you would believe that the burden of proof is on the person that believes. So you may say, but wait, I shouldn't prove that it's not real. You're supposed to prove that it's real. For example, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think they've found any tomb of anyone written in the Bible as such. Like, for example, the tomb of Abraham, the tomb of, let's say, Joseph. I know there are places where they say they may have been buried, but just like how when you go to Kemet there, and you could find the mummy of this and the mummy of that, well wrapped up, and you find them in the hundreds and people in the thousands, but yet still of in the biblical scripture, the biblical characters, there's not really, you could say, well, this bone here belonged to Rebecca. Look, Rebecca bone right here sitting down. And that is very interesting. Okay, fair enough. But even though you bring that, individuals are still going to press to you that, listen, man, you can say what you want. This Bible, the Septuagint came off of this Bible here, the Torah, the book written in Hebrew, and they had 70 people that came down to Egypt about 300 BC, and they went into the temple of Alexandria thereabouts, and they translated and brought out the Septuagint. The Septuagint is the actual book that Jesus was reading when he quoted from Isaiah, and he slammed the book. That was the Septuagint. And afterwards, as you said, the apostles went out and they spread the words four corners. And then people speak of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Because if you're going to speak of evidence, you'd have to go, I guess, for the Dead Sea Scrolls and maybe the Silver Scrolls. But from your point of view, especially for the audience, what concrete evidence, keeping in mind, just saying you can't find this and that too, that may be a good point. In fact, it's a massive point. But because you're not trying to convert no one, I know that, but you're trying to bring something to the people of understanding. You want, when you leave the conversation, you have added value to someone's life. For example, they found the little seal there that they say is the seal of Hezekiah. I think I showed it to you already when we were at the Bingy house. The seal of Hezekiah. They just found that, I think in 2012, in Jerusalem, a little thing here, and they say Hezekiah's name was on it. How would you tell the audience and to bring more evidence to your point that, listen, this story never happened, it's an allegory, etc. I don't know if you have to go into what you brought to bring up.
No.
Okay, fair enough.
This was just a draft that a young scholar from New Jersey found at Cambridge University archive when he was doing a paper for university assignment. And Samuel Ward, who is one of the scholars that helped to put together the King James Version, right? So what they find was, what the guy found was a notebook with all of his editing and revision and his rephrasing of certain passage of scripture. Ward. Samuel Ward, he's part of the work. Because the way the scholars did the work, what they do, they gave each person a certain assignment. They didn't like work together around a table. Everybody have a certain part to do. You understand? And Samuel Ward, according to the article, Samuel Ward seemed like he was probably helping out one of the other scholars as well, from some of the notes where the brethren check out.
So when we can get to that, you although I wasn't privy to the article before, but you wouldn't be how you just dropped it a while ago. I'm really interested to hear that article.
Actually, this is where I really want to take the reason.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I will progress to that still.
Progress. I listen.
All right. But when you talk about concrete evidence, you see, one of the things is, right, you see, in the world of faith, everything is conclusive. And all the people who deal with the Bible, they don't really have no need to look into anything or study anything, because as far as they're concerned by their belief and everything is conclusive. It's a matter of getting all these people out here to hook up to the plan. You understand where I'm coming from? But if you study the history of biblical archaeology and you check the arguments back and forth, there's a lot of things will come out to you, because you learn that a lot of the characters in the Bible and so on, in terms of whether they actually existed or not, there is no conclusive position on the part of the people who assert that they were people, they were historical figures. There's nothing conclusive to prove their point. And in biblical archaeology, they have a lot of evidence going against the existence of Abraham, Jacob, Isaac, Solomon, David, all these characters. You have a gentleman they call a rabbi, a Jewish rabbi actually, called S. David Sperling. He wrote a book called The Original Torah. And in that book, S. David Sperling is telling you that over the history of biblical archaeology, they have no information that support the existence of an Abraham, a Jacob, Isaac, David, none of these characters, no evidence of them. This is S. David Sperling. Sperling is suggesting that the Bible is a book of allegories, is a second order of understanding beneath the surface of what we're reading. And he is saying that this is the approach that should be used. I'm just using brief quotes. If anybody wants to follow the information, go on Amazon, S. David Sperling, Original Torah. And you can purchase the book and you can spend the time and really go through that. You have two other professors, mark you. The Bible has been attributed to Jewish people. It is said to be Jewish writing. Hebrew, it was written in originally. It is said. This rabbi that wrote this book, The Original Torah, he is a Jewish rabbi connected to the Hebrew Unity College, HUC, in New York. S. David Sperling, right? So you can check him out. He's a Jew. So he's a Jew telling us what the story is. They have been credited for writing these books. And it's Jewish people coming out say this. Make you more Jews. You have another book they call The Bible on Earth, written by Professor Israel Finkelstein. He's the head of archaeology at Tel Aviv University in Israel. In that book, I'm going to give one particular quote again from this book, where the existence of these biblical characters is questioned, and even certain events like the Exodus. The Exodus really never happened, right? It's a story. Finkelstein, according to biblical sources, Moses existed during the 13th century BC, 13th century. And it is said that Moses take the children of Israel out of Egypt, cross the Red Sea, and go over into the promised land, which is where we know to be present-day Israel. Okay? The Bible said this is what happened. He was removed from Egypt, and mark you, the boundary for Egypt, right, is according to what we know it to be today. Remember now we're reading in the Bible and we talk about ancient time. And they're confirming that the boundary for Egypt is like the same as it is today. Okay? So Moses left Egypt.
Who's saying it's the same as today?
No, think about it. It must be. For Moses to leave Egypt and go to the promised land, crossing the Red Sea, it is like leaving one country and go so. That means they are suggesting that where we know the border for Egypt to be today, that was the story during the time of Moses.
I get you.
You understand? However, according to the findings of Israel Finkelstein and his colleague Asher Silberman, Neil Silberman, I think is his name, during the 13th century BC, where we know today to be the promised land, present-day Israel, was a province of Egypt during the 13th century BC. And they find this when they excavate where present-day Israel is. When they dig down certain layers going down at certain sites, they're finding evidence of remains and differences and different artifacts and writings and wall and so on that is suggesting that that particular location was part of Egypt. In other words,
Palestine.
Yeah, right where Israel is today, present-day Israel. All that was a part of Egypt. Egypt boundary was from where we know it today, right up to Turkey, at the intersection of Europe and Asia, and then go right down to Yemen in Arabia. So the whole area that we know to be the Middle East today, that was a part of Africa and was a part of Egypt. It was an extension of Egypt.
Let me just come in there and let me just say for those on the YouTube, you have to go and well, you can watch this video too, because I'm going to invite the audience to leave their comments. So those who are watching, make your comments. You know, we ain't running no chat room here. This is not live. Well, we're not dead, but you know, you're not live. You know what I mean? So leave your comments. Brother Icern will come in. Trust me, he can come in and answer the questions. And it's just interesting. Let me just show quickly. This is the Hezekiah seal I was talking about. Now, this was found in Palestine, so-called Israel. So, and it's interesting the point you made, you know, and believe, you know, some of the audience will already know.
Well, let me just...
Hold on, come down. The point that you made about Kemet having his borders, I think is the first Amenhotep, Akhenaten's great-grandfather, if I'm not mistaken, was the one that had that great war in Kadesh, going up to the north and conquered all of that land. But whatever the case is, but I'm just saying now, so what about, in whatever you're going to continue to say, you could add this, what about those who would argue that the Jews, as you're calling them, these individuals like the individuals, the scientists that you spoke of a moment ago, because people will argue with you that these are not the original professors, are not the original Jews. And they would back that not with Bible, but with even history and say, man, these people come out of Russia and Poland, you know. And even if they made up the story, it's a fabrication, whatever the case is. So they're not the original Jews, the original Israelites spoken of in the Bible.
Okay, anybody that would have said that, anybody that would have said that, I would like to know, what are they suggesting then? That Finkelstein is publishing this to undermine who or what? What is he putting this information out against the Jew for? To discredit the original Jews? Well, what would be the reason?
Well, they would have to. I can't go in Finkelstein,
because I really asked that because you drew the inference, so to speak. You understand?
Remember, they even right here in Antigua.
But I like to say the Jews still control the world economy.
Yeah, okay. Before
right? They still have the seat of power. So why would a Jew come and publish information to undermine their own self?
Just take a quick.
If there are no credibility to
what
the
I'm
information.
Saying, outside that, not really his motive, you know. I'm just saying that you know that amongst us, for example, you have different groups of Hebrew Israelites. And they're not only speaking of black people now, they've even added in Native Americans and different type of people into the bucket. I'm just saying there are schools of thoughts out there that do not include the people that refer to themselves as the Jews today. They consider themselves Jews, maybe they have the political hand up. That will be the opinion of those who have the political hand down. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, not saying that the professor may have an ulterior motive. Because if I publish a work about my people, let's say I say I'm the real Jew, I wouldn't be really publishing it to put down nobody. I just publish it because this is what I believe and I think this is good information. But to those now, of I and I, of us, that say, no man, them is not the real Jews. We hear the real Jews. We went into captivity and 400 years, and you know the narrative. You know the narrative.
Yeah, but are the individual that take such a position, they take it based on the acceptance of the Bible as historical. Okay, so let's talk about how the Bible came together now.
Let's go.
You understand? Because I hear reference being made to Ethiopia, for example, having Bible in the 4th century.
Yes, I can share that one.
Right? My first question would be, what the content of the Bible? What books make up that Bible? You have in Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, them kind of stuff. Does it have that in this Bible for Ethiopia? That would be my first question. Because you see the Bible, you see when we say Bible present time here now, we're talking about a book start with Genesis and with Revelation. And in some cases, because I used to have a Roman Catholic Bible, I had some Maccabees and just a few other books. Okay? But by and large, it is from Genesis to Revelation. That's what we know Bible to be. If we are suggesting that Ethiopia in the 4th century AD had a Bible that contained these Genesis to Revelation along with whatever book else, because Ethiopia Bible have 88 books as opposed to 66 in the case of the King James, right? So my thing is this: the formula of Genesis to Revelation is something that was created very recent, starting in the 15th century. Okay? That just happened in the 15th century. So for Ethiopia in the 4th century AD to already have Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, something wrong there.
So okay, make that point again. About the 50, let's get it clear.
Let's get this going.
Yeah, good, let's get that.
There's a certain deception. I'm going to add a little bit more picture to this thing.
Some color.
There's a certain deception about using the term Bible, particularly before the 15th century. Because I give the impression in modern day people's mind that what you're referring to is the same Genesis to Revelation book that would have been in existence way back then. Most people suppose it was in a different language and that the European bring it into English and Greek and all these other language closer to our time in history. That's what they're suggesting. But the formula of a Genesis to Revelation was only created in the 15th century coming forward to the 17th century within that time period.
400 years ago.
Yeah. So for Ethiopia to claim to have a Bible from the 4th century AD that would have contained Matthew, Mark, Luke, and so on and so on and go on, I will have to question that seriously.
But speaking of question, for one will ask, you can't be upset if somebody asks.
No. Of course not.
How are you so sure that only 400 years ago, that whole concept, I want to come back to the Ethiopian Bible, but that concept was created just 400 years ago. I mean, what made you say that?
Okay, this is what we have to understand. There's a big deception surrounding the use of the term Bible when you're reading history. Okay? For example, you hear about the Vulgate Bible that's supposed to exist way back so. You hear about Bible from BC time. Bible, you know. There's a certain trick that happens within the conscious mind of the human being. When you in modern day know a Bible by description to be, let's say, the Samsung cell phone, and then you get a piece of writing that say that there was a Bible back in BC in the name King James. You have another name, and they're claiming that this Bible under the other name that King James and then translate into the English today. There's a mass deception in that, because you can associate what you know in modern day in the cell phone with anything that is referred to as Bible from ancient time. Your mind is going to automatically do that. Nobody will come and tell you that way for do. You will naturally do that, because when you hear Bible, that is Genesis to Revelation. That's what you know Bible to be.
That is true.
So you carry that thought back into ancient time and think that such a book was around in those times. The thing is, they did not have any Bible like we understand a Bible today. What they had was sacred writings, general sacred writings. The Bible that we know today are information that taken from various sources of sacred writing and put together into the work of the Bible, creating these names, Matthew and so on, to ascribe to certain books and so on and lay out the information. That's a formula. And that formula started when Pope Alexander VI commissioned Desiderius Erasmus, an ex-Roman Catholic priest and playwright, to write something on the object of Christianity. The object of Christianity being Jesus the Christ. And Desiderius Erasmus started his work in 1500. It took 16 years to write 9 manuscripts, creating all the stories we know in Matthew, in Mark, in Luke. The 9 manuscripts that he wrote, Matthew, Mark, Luke, 1st and 2nd Peter, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, Galatians, and Epistle to the Romans. That is what started. That's the foundation of the formula of what we call the New Testament. Okay? The other 18 books were created subsequently. And the authors for those 18 books are unknown. Nobody quite know who they were. You understand? It is when they created the King James Version that John, the 4th Gospel, came in, because the theologians and scholars that compiled the King James Version created that other book. And again, these people use sacred literatures from ancient time, the information that they stole out of Egypt, that they gained control over after Alexander the Great conquered Egypt. It is those sacred writings that they read and get the theosophical ideas that they need to create the stories that make up the Bible. So when Ethiopia claimed these things, you understand, I know it is not so much so the Ethiopian themselves, you know, because I have research going on and Ethiopia itself, how Christianity got there, how Judaism truly got there. You see, because you see, the Bible itself give account for that. Alan's supposed to tell our very recent work, you know. The Bible give account for how Ethiopia gained Christianity when he talk about Philip baptizing the Ethiopian eunuch. That was the connection for later justify how any kind of tradition of Christianity got into Ethiopia. The other connection prior to that was the Queen of Sheba and Solomon saga. That story justified an existence of a Davidic throne down in Ethiopia, that piece of literature. I tried to do some research on the Kebronigas. They have this guy, Miguel Book.
Okay, before you hit Kebronigas, now we can come right back to that point.
Okay.
So let me deal with the audience then now, guys. So that's the that's the literal book.
Right.
And just for a little clarity now, because we don't want to speak it in pretend form. I like to be clear, because we don't say Haile Selassie say Ethiopia have the oldest version of the Bible. True. From my understanding, in his speech, Haile Selassie said we in Ethiopia have one of the oldest versions. Now, what I'm saying, if we're dealing with it statistically, first of all, this Ethiopian book, and before I touch that, you made a key point of Bibles that we know, and that brings into the light history as we know it. When I say history as we know it now, people argue if dinosaurs did or did not exist. I get into a point, and some say, man, dinosaurs were really there, and some say they don't believe in that. And they tell, well, listen, when you go to a museum, the first thing you see is a dinosaur. So if you don't believe in the dinosaur, it don't make no sense you pass the dinosaur and look at anything else. Because if you believe the dinosaur is not true, why you believe anything else? The reason why I brought up that point is because sometimes I find that we conveniently accept what aspects of archaeology, what aspects of, and I'm speaking of you, I mean, what aspects of anthropology and history. Now, I have a list of Bibles, just in my head, that I can give you the date of. You know me, the Gothic Bible, the Leonard Grad, the Gothic is about 15, around the time you were talking.
The key thing though, not to cut you, but the key thing though, whenever you're going to hear about different Bible by different names, is to find out what was the content. Because that will blow everything open, because we can say for certain that the Bible that we know in terms of the formula of Genesis to Revelation and how all the book goes in sequence, that is something that we can say for certain was created 15th century coming forward. We can say that with certainty. That formulation is something recent. So if we're referring to Bible that existed before that, we have to then know what the content of that Bible was before we even consider it Bible, giving it the kind of authority that we give to the King James Version.
Okay. Fair enough, but let me still make the point. I get that point. What I was saying, okay, Leonard Grad, you could call.
Yes.
Now, Bible, and since you mentioned the name, Bible, not the full Amoris Scholar, my lord. Menkes Fidus, that's
Menkes Fidus.
Holy book. How you say? Right, that's the term. Okay, fair enough. Because etymology comes into play again now. Because what I learned about translation of words, you could play with them. So now a man will tell you, say it again for me. Menkes. Yes, man will tell you that's not the Bible. And the next man tell man is the Bible just in another name. Say, brother, from the time the name changed, that's something else. Why I'm saying that? Okay, for conversation's sake, this is the Menkes. I could say it's the Bible. But from our knowledge, this existed even before the word Bible coming. Now, I want to know, you just said we know for a fact that the concept began 500 years ago, in the 15th century, thereabouts. And you drew down the Pope, which was the 6th. We've read that story for sure. But now, someone else like an Ethiopian, a monk, those monks that you see sitting in Waldeba, and in Debre Damos and these places, they consider that maybe not them, because they're just 40, 50, 60, 70 maybe years old, but they consider somewhere in their mind that for the last 15 centuries, my father, grandfather, great-grandfather, monks and priests for generations have been keeping these manuscripts, and they bring out lamb skin for you, and they bring up some old cattle skin and some old paper like this, and they do not consider that they're just 400 years. They have some painting on the wall and they tell a man that has been there for 1,000 years. I'm just saying, now even the book of Enoch, this book here, this one that we're showing, is not the whole quote-unquote Bible. It's actually 4 Gospels, and I think the Gospel of Mary. This one. Right.
What the 4 Gospels are?
The regular, the Matthew, Mark, Luke, John.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, John.
And I think Mary.
Okay.
And there's a mystic story that goes with this. Now this was a translated book. The story says so, that this was translated. They never, from my knowledge, they never say from what. But I would believe, if that is so, it would be from the Syriac. Because when His Majesty say we in Ethiopia have one of the oldest versions of the Bible, if I'm not mistaken, what would precede the Ethiopian Bible would be the Syriac. Hold on, I'm making you come in. I'm saying, just to be correct in our stats, so this is not the Bible. This is not the 88 book that Ethiopia has. This is the Gospels, which was written by Grimani, a saint. And according to that story, it's like you give the story with the Pope, according to that story, Grimani asked God to stop the sun while he was writing the Bible for a good while, so he could finish it off, and then when he done it, say, okay, everything okay. The book of Enoch now, that James Bruce discovered. What is unique about this book, which is said to be a part of the works, the apocryphal works, well, at least books that were taken out of the original manuscript? This book was written in Ge'ez. This one here also is written in Ge'ez. These oldest version of the Bible that Ethiopia has, they're not written in Hebrew. They're written in Ge'ez. So, for us as people in the earth, what is there? You gave some history, you know, with the Pope and Rome and so. All right. So, what about the history that our popes give?
Okay. Let me say this quickly, because this is information that you see we don't know, because we are not going and question Ethiopia. We are glad for anything that come out that is credit to Ethiopia, and glad to, most of the time, sometimes we're very gullible about that too, and not with Ethiopia alone. Anything that come and give credit to black people, we tend to be very gullible and quick to accept it. And a lot of the time, it is just given to us to help to keep a story alive. Call it black if you must, once you stay alive, that kind of way. Now, they have, in the early 19th century, from 1837, let me go back, let me give some background on an organization they call Christian Missionary Society, CMS. This organization was created by the Church of England in 1799. Okay? By 1837, they send some missionaries up into East. Let me go back again further. The organization was actually founded for this purpose. Let me forget to mention this. It was founded for the purpose of converting East Africans, specifically East Africans and Asians, indigenous people of these areas, to Christianity. Okay? They send a brethren called Eisenberg and Kraft up into Ethiopia. Let me tell you then, guys, when they go to Ethiopia, they spend enough time, they go amongst the Gala people. You know who the Gala people be? Cool. They go amongst the Gala people and other indigenous people, and they stayed among them long enough to learn the spoken language. And you know what they did? They returned back to England and they created dictionary for the Ethiopia spoken language that they can translate English, right, into the stuff that the information have in English, that they can translate it into these ancient tongues. They can actually give these people literatures in their ancient tongue, because they sit there for years among these people and they're linguists. They're guys that know many languages, and when you get one language on their belt other than your native language, it pretty much opens you up for can learn a whole set of language without a lot of confusion in your mind. Okay? So what Kraft and Eisenberg and another guy named Martin, I don't remember because Martin go after me, I think Eisenberg got sick. They went and they created dictionary and Bibles. Right? They learned the spoken language by the Ethiopians so that they can translate the information that they have in English into the Ethiopian language so that the Ethiopian people can relate. If you want proof that all that we know of Bible were actually imported into Ethiopia kind of way, as opposed to it started there. Ethiopia have some indigenous Bible written in Gaze that would have the gospel like you have there. If you want proof of this, read His Majesty word. His Majesty say that in the olden days that we were given the law, right? And he say in the modern time now that Ethiopia received the gospel. And he used the reference of Philip baptizing the Ethiopian eunuch as the point of reference for Christianity getting into Ethiopia after Frumentius and the other brethren end up down there as well and do some preaching. You understand? So if you read His Majesty word about the Bible and how Ethiopia came into the good news about the Bible, you understand? He will tell you very clearly that the Bible and all these things are something that was introduced into Ethiopia and something that was homegrown. There's even this mythology, as far as I'm concerned, at least I man look on them that way. Don't kill me. About Jesus born in a cave. Yes, so they use that term to get rid of the Jesus, the Zeus, I guess. Jesus was born in a cave in Ethiopia. They have stories in Ethiopia that say
so
these things.
Jesus come before the name Jesus to all that come to the translation.
I don't even know who come before who. I'm just making the point that they have stories in Ethiopia that suggested that Jesus born in a cave in Ethiopia. Let's look at that again. If Jesus born in a cave in Ethiopia, then he would have to be groomed by Ethiopia in terms of even what he teach and so on. You understand? Not unless I always say two different Jesus here. The Jesus they talk about in the King James is different from the one that born in the cave.
But in all justice, I think
because what I'm saying, if Jesus born in a cave in Ethiopia, then His Majesty language wouldn't be that then get Christianity coming in. That Christianity was introduced to Ethiopia. That the first Ethiopian on record to be converted to Christianity was the eunuch. According to the story in the Bible, His Majesty would not say that. He would be talking about, yeah, Jesus didn't come from cave in Ethiopia. His family was from such and such village, and so on and so on and so forth. You'd have that kind of language coming out. When I read His Majesty's speech, I'm realizing, like many other countries around the world, that the gospel was spread to after it break out of Israel, if you are to accept the Bible as historical, that he's suggesting that Ethiopia get the news just like any other places outside of Israel. His Majesty is accepting pretty much that Jesus was born in Israel as we know Israel today. His Majesty is known to visit Israel. We have Ethiopian leaving in the early 18s under the Moses operation from Ethiopia to go to Israel, claiming that they come from there originally because they are descendant from Jews and Abraham lineage and all the rest of it. So all this is telling you that the whole tradition of Christianity and Judaism in Ethiopia is something that was imported. It was imported. It's not something that, you know, as I say, homegrown to Ethiopia.
So the writings you have there now, I still am eager to get
okay, well,
inviting, of course, the audience. Make sure you leave your comment.
What I'll do now, sorry,
just to make them know that because you continue in the conversation, So whatever questions, whatever statement you think you have to make, I'm sure the brother will respond to you, and you can keep. And before you leave, you have to leave your information and maybe whatever links you have, So anybody who's interested, because I'm sure there are many people that will be watching this and listening that say, yeah man, that man have it down pat, I want to talk to him, I'm sure. So make sure you leave that as we go along. So okay, yeah, so we've got it a lot here, so you have it ready there?
Yes.
Okay, you go ahead. Let me make you.
Okay, good. Now this is a discovery that took place, ironic enough, way back in 2015, the 16th of October. According to this information was published by J. Greenberg on the 14th of July 2017, 2 years after that this information put out. Okay, I guess during them 2 years they were basically going through these notebooks and trying to verify the authenticity of these. You see? Okay, an early draft of the Bible has been discovered at the University of Cambridge. 1 minute.
Just jumping out here.
Yeah, some
alright, well,
like a disruption.
Once you're looking for that, once again, just keeping in mind, not stressing the point, you can leave your comments for those of you on YouTube, and definitely call in. Now, you see, even as I mentioned them little things there, it's very important, as you mentioned the king's name, there's somebody called it.
Excuse me for a minute. Just get.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask, you're leaving me in the title scout alone here. But I was going to ask, and even if the brother don't hear the question, it looked like he had an important phone call. He made mention to some speeches by Haile Selassie I. I'm going to wait till he returns to even talk about that. When he comes back, I will get into that. But remember, you could definitely subscribe to the Mystic Vibration radio program on radioanu.com. Remember, the Mystic Vibration is aired every Monday to Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 6 p.m. sharp. And of course, the shock of the hour, which is the meat of the program from 7 until. Remember, as an individual, you could definitely subscribe. Our monthly subscription, just a small price of $50, 50 United States currency dollars, and that would give you, at least 20 hours worth of information specifically within that month frame. What we do, we email the program to you from the moment the program is finished. The moment that is done, you get it emailed to you the very same evening, or at least by the next day. So all you have to do is definitely, contact me. Of course, my information, area code 12687283162, and of course, email priestisaac27@gmail.com. And of course, keep in mind also that our video lecture series definitely will be beginning. We have begun the video lecture series. The first installment, or the first edition, will be coming on the 15th day of June. So that's just a few days from now, at least to the doing of this recording. The 15th day of June, we'll be bringing out that documentary, Is Haile Selassie a Freemason? And remember, this is a video now. This is not Radio Anu. In fact, it won't be on Radio Anu, and it won't be on the YouTube neither. We might only give you a preview on the YouTube, but the point is that it's available there for your purchase. It's available there. You could get it e-video. That means you could get it through the email as well. We will definitely format it. That is possible. Or you could get it the old snail mail way, but of course it will just cost you a bit more for shipping and handling. And that is the lecture series, the video lecture series. We're going to be publishing a lecture once every month. That's the video lecture. And of course, even those who are subscribers to the shock of the hour, they will definitely get their lecture for free. So Icern is here again, and I was saying when you went, since you brought in Haile Selassie and what Haile Selassie says, I think even some of the words that you're familiar with, we've been through this already, but for the audience, if I want you looking for, sure, we'll speak about that. You go to that.
Okay, good. By the way, sorry, watchers, viewers, for the break. That was an important call. I had to take that. Okay, I'll just take it from the top. This is a discovery by a young scholar from New Jersey called Jeffrey Alan Miller. As a matter of fact, this discovery has been hailed as one of the most significant discovery in modern history. This is how big this thing is. And there's a huge hush-hush on this, basically. Reading through. An early draft of the Bible has been discovered at the University of Cambridge in the UK that has been marked as one of the most significant discoveries in modern history. The handwritten draft was found after it had been mislabeled inside an archive and had gone undetected for decades. The book has been confirmed by leading experts as an early working of the King James Bible, which is one of the most influential and widely read books in the English language. The discovery has been hailed as a definitive proof that the Bible is a work of friction. That Bible is a work of friction, as it shows a process of revising, cutting, and then more rewriting, which contradicts popular belief that the book is the divine word of God. The King James Bible, or simply the Authorized Version, is an English translation of the Christian Bible for the Church of England that combines books from the Old and New Testament as well as other Christian scriptures. The notes and commentary in the recently discovered draft of this book show how best bits were cherry-picked from the original books and were then embellished, exaggerated, or even rewritten to make for better reading. There are also indications that the sections were written on the orders from the king to that would conform to the idea that the royal bloodline was a divine one. Let me just rephrase this because there are certain typo in the reading. What they're actually suggesting here is that the King James himself, actually instructed, in a matter of speaking, that they make some kind of connection with his kingly line as being divine. Most kingship in ancient times were always connected with divinity, because the whole structure of kingship was created as a divine one by the Nile Valley people. Alright? That discussion all by itself as to how these people establish the divine kingship order and what the symbolism involved with that. Continuing. So as you go, there are also indications that sections were written on the orders from the king, so that it would conform to the idea that the royal bloodline was a divine one, and to instill a false belief in the common people that the hierarchy of the ruling elites was justified. In other words, they were using this book to get the ordinary people also to accept the authority of their kingship. Continuing. The notebook contained the draft was found by an American scholar, Jeffrey Alan Miller, an assistant professor of English at the Montclair State University in New Jersey, who announced his research in an article in the Time Literary Supplement. Mr. Miller was researching an essay about Samuel Ward, one of the King James translators, and was hoping to find an unknown letter at the archives. while you can say he certainly accomplished that end, he definitely wasn't expecting to find the earliest draft of the King James Version, which is now giving new insights into how the Bible was constructed. He first came across the plain notebook, not knowing what it was. It was incorrectly labeled. That's why no one has found it until now. It had been catalogued in the 1980s as a verse-by-verse biblical commentary with Greek word study and some Hebrew notes as well. When he tried in vain to figure out which passage of the Bible the commentary was referring to, he realized that it was no commentary at all. It was an early draft of part of the King James Version of the Bible. Professor Miller described what it felt like when he first knew what he had in his hands. Quote, "There was a kind of thunderstruck, leap out of bathtub moment, but then comes the more laborious process of making sure you are 100% correct. The material in the manuscript discovered by Miller covers the apocryphal books." So this Regina wasn't just in the notebook, wasn't notes for the King James Version alone. There were also notes for the apocrypha. I don't know if, I'm sure some of the listeners would be, the viewers, sorry, would be familiar with the apocrypha. It is I call it a Bible-like book. It has in Wisdom of Solomon, a number of different books that we don't hear about in the King James Version. So what this brethren pointing out here is that Samuel Ward seemed to have also been working on some books pertaining to the apocrypha also. So he was working, it would seem, on both the King James Version, material pertaining to the King James Version, and also pertaining to the apocrypha. So yes, the material in the manuscript covered by Miller covers the apocryphal books called Esdras and Wisdom. That would be the Wisdom of Solomon, and seem to show that the translation process at Cambridge worked completely different than that researchers had previously known. Until now, it had been assumed that 6 different teams or companies of translators, that is, had worked more collaboratively rather than individually. Yet, this draft throws that idea out the window. Ward's draft seemed to indicate that the people were assigned individual sections of the Bible and then worked on them almost entirely by themselves, a massive undertaking with little guesswork. You would think this would cause people to become more error-prone. In fact, quite hilariously, Professor Miller noticed that the draft suggests that Ward was picking up the slack for another translator also. This really shows how human the entire job was, according to him. And again, Miller quote from Miller, "Some of them, being typical academics, either fell down on the job or just decided not to do it." It really testifies to the human element of this kind of great undertaking. While this finding, while this finding certainly doesn't disprove God, it does show that the translators of the Bible didn't get a finalized product the first go around. It wasn't a walk in the park with an angel over their shoulders telling them what to write. It does, however, offer definitive proof that the Bible isn't the actual word of God, and that the words in the Bible shouldn't be taken literally. The finding clearly shows how people can be manipulated into submission by offering up stories of other human beings who have divine powers as a way of controlling them, in a way not too dissimilar from the way governments use the mainstream media to brainwash the public today. This book took many different individuals working separately, and they often suffered from man-made struggles like meeting deadlines. You know, now that we think of it, doesn't sound that much different from the writers of today's workforce. Yes. And that's the end of the article on it.
And we're going to soon look to wrap this up, eh?
True.
Say
so, this article, again, as pointed out here, and by the way, as it said, after this brethren would have discovered the notebook, it was placed in the hand of experts to verify the document, and they did indeed verify that the document authentic. It is actually Samuel Ward's notebook for the work that he did with the King James Version and the Apocrypha. That was confirmed. If you go on Cambridge University Digital Library and you put in a search, Jeffrey Alan Miller and the King James Version draft, you even just word it that way, you should be able to see it post on their website. They would not put that on their website if it was a fraud. They would likely be putting themselves in the line for a lawsuit or something like that. So this is real stuff. Okay? So we the people who have been taught that the Bible is the Word of God, we have a lot of questioning to do now. One of the key questions that come to my mind personally is, how do you qualify an idea? You know, how do you qualify an idea to be of God or not? Can I come with two separate books with writing and say to the world, read this and read this and tell me which one of them is the Word of God? Can I do that? And people would have, let's say, some kind of criteria, some kind of guideline to cipher which one of these words would actually be expressed by God, would be an ideal, a divine idea from God.
Tell them we will get this considered again. I think people need to read that for themselves.
This article.
Yeah, properly.
Look, it is very easy. You can just go in Google and just enter Jeffrey Alan Miller / King James draft. Once you put that in, even if you just put Jeffrey Alan Miller and you go down and read, you're going to see one of the clippings, one of the links that would have the draft described under the name.
But in what you just read, what would really suggest the main point that it's not history, it's not fact? Why I said what, for example, even when you said, and this suggests, I was watching you, and certain words I see them having red, like this suggests, they put that in red and everything else is in black. Okay, what really suggests? Yes, obviously somebody would have to have translated King James Version. We've been saying that for years, boys. King James is a version, and we say it's translated, and some people say by 42 people, and a lot of things. So obviously there had to have been people that wrote it, translated, but within that, people with flaws, as that says, men, regular men that had to meet a deadline, for sure. So we already expected that, even if it was a holy book, even if it came down on the Mount Sinai and was given to Moses, and everything else, as you said at the beginning of the program, that we were taught to believe, if all of that was true, and it reached up to King James, in reality, it would have taken King James and some other humans, mortal men that have flaws and that have sinned, to come together to write that. And we find some manuscript or some notes of some one of these regular men from the past that translated this book. Okay, what in all of that suggests that this is not facts?
What is not fact?
The Bible.
That the Bible is not fact? What kind of fact are we?
The fact that you find proof that these were the people that were translated, fair enough, good. As I said,
well, I guess, okay, let's clarify this. Let's clarify what exactly is the issue that we would have with the Bible.
From that writing at all? From this
writing, in reference to the writing. The main thing that the discovery is highlighting,
that's what I'm saying,
is that the Bible is not the word of God. They're not the word of God as we've been taught, that men inspired by God under a trance-like state via the Holy Spirit were guided into the things they write. Because,
okay, but what in that denotes that, the point you make? This is what I'm saying. Because even if it was by holy men under the trance, it still would have gotten into the hand of these same people, and they still would have translated it. Fair enough. And we could still find and say, boy, we find Samuel Ward's letter. Good.
Okay. Well, maybe then I should offer you an alternative idea. Because you see, you're not going to get certain things. I served in the court one time as a juror, right? And you would have case, there are cases at 5 years old. And you have even the people who involved in the incident. When you check their recall of things, I mean, in such a short space of time as 5 years, you'll be surprised the disparity in the accounts and so forth.
I get that.
You understand? And what you, the juror, challenged to do is listen information here, listen information there, and there, and there, and form an inference in your mind as to what the real story is, taking sense from nonsense. That kind of way. And it's something similar you got to do when you do this kind of research. You're not going to get everything to tell you pinpointly from the horse's mouth that kind of way. You got to use your own thinking mind and weigh things out. As I say, if the formula that we know as a Bible from Genesis to Revelation is something that was created just in the 15th century, then anybody talking about a Bible prior to that, you have to immediately ask what was the content. And if the content is suggesting that it is the same makeup as what we know today, then we know something is wrong. Somebody backdating this Bible or whatever this information is, or somebody writing something in modern time and then suggesting that it comes from somewhere back in antiquity. And there's precedent for this.
1611 is just after that development of the Genesis to Revelation. 1611 when the King James was translated. It's like a few years, maybe the most. It's the same time span.
Yeah, well, what happened in the King James version, the main thing happened in the King James version, the two books came under one cover. The New Testament. The New Testament really was the original, was the Roman Catholic sacred book. The Old Testament was a Christian document too, but not for the Catholic Church, for a Christian community, a small Christian community. You understand? But it was printed in Germany, and it was this guy here, Johannes Reuchlin, and two more Italian scholars.
Just a little more.
Yeah.
So the name of that book,
Johannes Reuchlin and the Campaign to Destroy the Jewish Books. He wasn't the one who was campaigning to destroy the books. However, let me just move right along. Johannes Reuchlin and two more Italian scholars are the one who formulated what we know to be the Pentateuch, which is the same as, you know, the 5 books of Moses, that kind of stuff. You understand? So it's only when the King James Version now put the two under one cover that we have the Bible as we know it today. You understand? The question really to ask from this, you know, the main thing, let me tell you, okay, let me say this explicitly. Personally, my mission is, after I come to appreciate the spiritual system of Egypt and many other African traditions, I realize that they are just as valid as any Christianity. Just as valid. They can bring you to a spiritual experience the same way that you can go to the Bible and you can, through all the stories and everything, you can arrive at a spiritual awareness. I did it, many people before me did it, through the Bible. Alright? But what I realized the Bible set us, black people, against our own self. Because, for example, the Bible have a very negative writ when you come to Egypt. Egypt is the land of idol. Egypt is the place that seek for enslaved God people and them. Pharaoh let them go. That kind of story. Pharaoh get on bad write-up when Pharaoh was something that was established as a divine order, a divine kingship. In the Bible now, Pharaoh become this person who will go against God. You understand? So much so now that when we are highlighting information about Egypt and the grandeur of Egypt and their spiritual system and so forth, you would have black people who are supposed to be celebrating Egypt will be saying that Egypt, according to how they get trained by the Bible, they will be now talking against Egypt, so they deal with idol and satanic worship, because what you have now is a situation where a lot of the Egyptian symbol has been adopted by people who involved in some very weird stuff. You understand? And kind of put a negative connotation on these things. And because we are so steep in the Bible, we tend to be going against Egypt. You understand? And when when you go and you read actual history and you find out that the civilization that we now enjoy in this Western context of life, it was all inspired by Egypt and what Egypt would have achieved. The Nile Valley from Ethiopia come right down to the Mediterranean. What they would have achieved. You know, it kinda heartbreaking that we would have this position that we're trying to resist, we're trying to fight to validate the Bible, to give the Bible, to continue to give the Bible the authority that the Europeans and them place on the Bible. Because nobody ever quite asks how this word in the Bible become the word of God. Nobody asks these questions.
Without time frame, we got to seal up now. But in sealing up, since we, again, what I was asking, and let me just seal up with that, the validation and so. Now, in your closing too, you'd have to leave a word for Rastafari.
Yes, sir.
Very, very key.
True.
Because when it comes to the Bible, not only the history now that we were speaking of before, and I would say we were reasoning out, because from what you're showing to myself and the audience here, is that you can't take this history as how they've been giving you, not even the Ethiopian history. All right, fair enough. Or even the Ethiopian tradition, because what we're saying is things that Ethiopians will say back to you. Okay, but as far as Haile Selassie's words, many ones would blanketly say, His Majesty speak highly of the Bible. His Majesty says he glory in the Bible. And I would believe these are, to me, blanket statements. Why? Because when it comes to the King's statements, according to the translation, let us sift them out properly. Let us, His Majesty says, today, man sees his hopes and aspirations crumbling before him. He is perplexed and know not which way to turn. He must realize that his hope is in the Bible, and let me get my words right. In it, he would find the answers to his questions. He goes on to say, I for myself, I glory in the Bible. But before that, he makes a specific statement. Is the exact statement that is not coming to my mind, I would know it, man. I personally would know it. Where he, a man cannot hope for salvation unless he's dealing with the Bible.
True.
How, especially for Rastafari now, with all that we done say already, Because we're looking, as I said, this is basic closing up statement.
One elder said to Heinemann, Heinemann called him elder. He's not the conventional Rasta, but he carry dreadlocks and everything. He support the culture. He walk as a Rasta in life. But he say one thing to me, as a man that not really giant like Naya Bingi or anything like that. He said something to me years ago. He said that's how we're going to have to demystify His Majesty. He said that's how we're going to have to demystify His Majesty. And that stuck with me. And you see right now with the thing that I'm going to find, I'm going to realize that this brother am right. We have to demystify His Majesty. You see what we have done? Because you see in Rasta, in the creation of this liberty, we have not really sat down as Rasta and speak about things theologically and come up with a theology of our own, unique to ourselves. What we actually do is adapt the Christian theology and with some variation where we can openly acknowledge His Majesty, given that He is not explicitly mentioned in the Bible except through the connection with the Davidic line. You understand? We had certain feature to it. Rasta in a sense are kind of amalgamation of Eastern and Western kind of philosophy. You understand? We have to demystify His Majesty because we adopt a theology from Christianity. A theology that Christianity adopted from Egypt, but never adapted it wholesomely. Because they never go through the thought process that the Egyptians go through to arrive at the position that they arrive at in terms of divine kingship. So we're going to learn, I'm going to relate right now how we are to regard the King, His Majesty. Within the thinking of the Nile Valley people, we use the term Nile Valley because Egypt really represents the whole valley up to Ethiopia. In fact, in their notion, in their theological thinking, while there is a divine king on the throne, and this king is said to be God, they make a distinction between the king as a symbol of God and the king as a person. It is two separate entities in their thinking, right? So while they relate to the king as God symbolically, they also understand that the king is a human being and the king have to give praises just like how they give praises. He have to go up and give atonement for his sin and his imperfection because he's a human being like the rest of everybody else. You see? But in the grand scheme of things, his seat symbolizes the divine and a certain divine authority. So they have that separation of understanding. So it is not difficult for them to accept of their king, their divine king, that he would make a mistake here or there.
But yeah, but with
that he have flaws like regular human.
But still,
it is not. Hold on for a bit. It is not foreign to them.
Remember, we're sealing up to it.
True. In our thinking in Rasta, we do not employ that separation. We don't have that separation. So what we try to do, we try to assert things, attribute things to His Majesty person that really cannot be attributed to his person as a mere mortal man. This is the reason why in a lot of interview where His Majesty is asked if he is God, because Rastas or whoever is saying that he is God. And a number of occasions he actually said, no, he's a man like everybody and he will die and leave the next generation. I mean, when we as Rasta hear that, we conveniently find a way of interpreting that to say, well, he's just saying that to the unbelievers. It's just the same thing like when the ordinary person may ask the Christ if he's a God, he tell them no, and in secret he tell the apostle where they look upon me and wait.
Okay, hold on. Let me make it clear. I don't want us to leave with that. I get that part. But the statement with the Bible, it doesn't need no mystification, you know.
Oh, you want?
As a man that I know you revere, I speaking of Haile Selassie.
No, okay, let me continue.
I got done this.
To answer your question.
Let me seal up this here.
Okay, respect.
So, but you have, well, to be mystic, and to be mystic is not wrong to be mystic, you know. And if there's a man that fit the mystic status, it would be Haile Selassie. not hallucinating and religious and spooky. There's some mystic things about the emperor, and I think we all know that. Just the way he was born alone. I never hear nothing like that when 8 people come before you, all of them dead. And then one coming, no, 8, yeah, and one coming behind, and they and your mother die off. As historical fact.
So what they did? I mean, we don't even question, okay, what they did, what the significance of their dying.
But what I'm saying now, you don't have to mystify him, you know.
No, you see, no,
cut that. I want to kick to the point.
Okay, sorry.
The statement he made with the Bible now, whether he mystic or not, you know, as who we accept him as the idea, who you accept him as. The statement that he made, the firm statement that he dig in, not just, yeah, Bible work, man, you can use it. You cannot hope without salvation. Today a man is drifting, don't know where to turn. He must realize. That's what I'm asking. Why would he make these statements now?
Because he is a Christian.
Okay, well, that's
he's cultured that way. If he was cultured as a Muslim, he'll say the same thing of Muslim. If he was cultured as a Buddhist, he'll say the same thing of Buddha. Because in his context, in his culture, in his context of thinking, this is how you get to God. By this medium, this is what we have. If you go across the water and you go to Arabia, they have a different icon that lead them to the same place. There's no problem. So when His Majesty makes statement like this supporting Jesus, I simply put it in context. I don't have to believe in what His Majesty believe in. You understand? Remember the concept. There's a big difference between the king as the symbol of God, because he's a symbol, and the king as a mortal that would suffer death and everything like everybody else.
That's an ancient African concept.
Right.
The man on the throne.
So we have to know how to think about the king.
The representative of the creator.
Right.
The man on the throne.
We have to know to think about the king. So, yeah, so as I'm saying, them statement that His Majesty make about the Bible and Jesus, I simply put them into context. He's a Christian and he's going to say that. And the reason why I can take this firm position, because I read other speech of His Majesty, and I wish I had the book right now, the 3rd Testament of Haile Selassie, where he was talking, he was given an honor to the president of Egypt in 1965, I think it was. And he quote a speech from the said president who is into writing. He's a spiritual guy. Write a lot of literature trying to liberate people spiritually and so forth. And His Majesty talk about that, about the unity of spirit in all the religious tradition. Of
course, yeah.
In that there's a certain unity in spirit, in that all of them refer to the one God and so on. That particular speech, His Majesty basically telling you all the religion and they're equally valid. He basically saying that he wasn't telling the president of India that he must drop whatever tradition he have over India, or they must drop whatever tradition they have up in China, in the Buddhist tradition, and come and be a Christian. But when he's in a Christian forum speaking as a Christian, he speak the Christian talk.
That's right, sir.
And we have to separate that.
Give us the last word now.
Yeah, we have to separate that. So what our challenge is, what we have to do in light of these information about the Bible and so forth is we have the challenge now in Rastafari to find a way of validating His Majesty as being a God without the Bible. And this brethren do a work that I like to reference. I allow him, he said 2 different works he did that bring out the information so he can reference it to you.
I think you're more referring to 7 than the
7
ceremonies.
Okay, respect. So he did a DVD called 7. And he basically validated His Majesty as a Godhead with no reference to the Bible. And guess what his reference point was? Egypt.
And Buddhism.
And well, there you go. So he used even more than one tradition
astronomy
to make the case. So why are we hanging up on the Bible when we are realizing by information to hand right now that this Bible have all kind of confusion, contortion and corruption? We can totally, in a Rastafari, we can totally separate ourselves from that and claim a unique space. Christian can't talk to all them time there. Or something totally different. We are not anchored in their theology and so forth. And yet still, we are valid enough because we can take any human being that come to our system of spiritual growth and take them right up to their realization. All the symbolism is there. Everything is there that required. Okay. Because we are going back to the Nile Valley source where Christianity take the stuff from.
I know it's our time, but
yes,
we have to see like this time. You know, we'd have to do it again. But any direct contact information in case anyone want to, you know, link with you. And I still encouraging you. I'm sure the comments start already. Those out there, leave your comments. Don't leave them directly to me. You can leave them to the brother.
Yes, yes, yes.
I know we'll be visiting these videos and he will be answering your questions because I'm sure
that's
you have questions. But you have any, you know, Facebook link, Instagram,
well,
all the thing go. I mean,
one can look up Facebook. I have a page on Facebook that I share documentaries and different information like that as I research things. Right? You can look up.
You don't have a YouTube?
Not yet. Not yet. It's coming on stream shortly. But yes, you can check out my Facebook page, Upper Room Reasonings and Meditation. Okay? So you can look me up on Facebook there. You can also look me up Patrick Icern Watkins. Or you can just enter Icern. I'm the only Icern anyway.
I don't think there's another.
You understand? So you'll find me quite easily that way. If anyone, you know, would want to email me, then it would be rasicern@gmail.com. You can email me right there. Okay? Phone number, we keep that off. If you contact me on Facebook and you need to talk to me by phone, then we can share information inbox wise. You see? But yeah, I man give thanks again for the opportunity to come and really just share some of my thoughts and some of the things that I'm researching into. Me and Rasquama, I big up Rasquama every time in New Jersey, a co-researcher. Like for big up man like Bandeli as well, you know what I mean? Them man they are part of my whole Chadins, you know what I mean? Big up them man, when I man come, I man represent a lot of people that give support. Even this brother here, same way. If you notice, he provide the avenue for him and come and speak, same way. And as I say over the years, one man that go out there, you know, as one Ras youth from what that lay, probably the only youth that really stand out like that. I mean, even no elder that go out and, you know, do the kind of work that this brother do, you know, producing videos and so on, and, you know, sharing knowledge and traveling and lecturing and these things, you know what I mean? So the brethren and, you know, your inspiration, quite simply. You understand? So yeah, I man just give thanks for the opportunity, and I'll just advise that all ones, you know, don't take my word for it. Let me go with that. Don't take my word for it. I always try to give names and reference like that, so ones can go and follow and come upon the information for themselves. I'll just caution and say one thing quickly though. Yeah. While you go to information, you're not going to have all the T crossed and all the I's dotted. So you gotta think a lot through the information to really put things together. I man give thanks. Selassie I live every time.
I'll give thanks again, Ras Icern. Bless the love, give thanks for the information and inspiration. And as I said, we intend that we're going to do this again, you know. Let's just see how the people respond to this presentation. And of course, as I said, in the future, we'll touch it, you know. Maybe we have a guest or two with you in the future. And
I like that, so because,
we can balance it up. And
yeah,
you know, give thanks, King Selassie, Jah
Rastafari. Respect.
Yes, I know flower this on the ends, representing the flames. Yo, the one after the honorable priest Isaac. Some boy if you know this. Hear me now. Antigua are the place where priest Isaac dwell. Ancient Israel, ancient story fit tell. Yes, yes. Up a Lalibela where the monk them a dwell. With them mescal them a broke evil spell. Priest Isaac is an angel. Mystic vibration is an angel. And them nah go rebel. In a Zion where we dwell. When we broke for them spell. Priest Isaac is an angel. Yes, him a angel. His foundations in the whole of mountain. Priest Isaac on the whole of mountain. Him block a reverence on the whole of mountain. Him chant a psalm on the whole of mountain. But never hesitate for yell the king. I take a Isaro Heinen. So proud yes to be an offspring. Mystic vibration of the people them a sing. Angel. Mystic vibration is an angel. And them nah go rebel. In a Zion where him dwell. When we broke for them spell. Priest Isaac is an angel. Yes, him an angel. Priest Isaac is an angel. Mystic vibration is an angel. And them nah go rebel. In a Zion where we dwell. When we broke for them spell. Priest Isaac is an angel. Yes, him an angel. Trot on the banks of the gully. Isaac trod it through the hills and the valley. Trod it through the town, through the bloody city. Highly, 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 always with we. Highly, 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 I'll protect we. Highly, 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 I would